All right, so this is the fourth example on the back of that handout I gave you guys. And this one, again, same stuff. These are my G fragments. So I put hyphens behind U's and C's. This one connects to nothing, so I don't really use it. These fragments are my UC fragments, so I put hyphens after G's. Won't use this one or this one because obviously there's no G in there. But otherwise, when I connect the dots this time, I get AC to G. Remember, I just put the U on the path, right? And then I have a C to a G, so I need a C from somewhere else to my G. And then I have a G to an AC. Both of those exist already, so I'll connect. And then a G to a C. Again, both exist. Just connect with an arrow. But otherwise, when I look at this, technically there's 4 different ways to follow this path, right? Might be hard to see at first, but I could have an AC followed by a U to a G, and then go to the C, back to the G, and then have an AC to finish, right? So if I start at AC, that's what it's going to look like. But if I start at the G in the middle, that's also an option. I could go to AC through U back to G. So I'll go G, AC, U, G, and then go to the C and back to the G. So C, G to finish it. Or I could technically go the other way, and I could start with a G and go to a C, come back to the G first before I go AC, U, G. But then the fourth option, right, technically I can start with from the C, and I can go C to G to AC through the U back to the G, and then finish with a C. And it could be any one of these options, right? But this is where I talked in class, at least with one of the classes I got this far. So this might be new for you. But this is where I kind of look at my GC fragments, and I'm looking for one of these things that's not like the other, right? So these are supposed to be my G fragments, but this last fragment, that fragment I just highlighted there, technically doesn't end with a G, which actually should tell me something about my RNA strand. Technically, my RNA strand is going to have to end with a C, because otherwise I wouldn't have a fragment like that, right? If I'm cutting behind G's, the only reason I'd have a C all by itself is if I cut that off at the end. Whereas if you look at the UC fragments, they all end with UC, so I may or may not be able to do anything with that. Though, right, that does leave me with 2 different possible outcomes. I can't have a G at the end, so obviously I didn't start at the G in the middle. But maybe I can look at more. Maybe I can understand what that next thing is, because again, those were my G fragments, right? So if I cut behind G's, that's when I get a C by itself. If I cut behind a G here, it'd be an AC. So I know that actually this is my answer. I know that it has to be CG, AC, UG when it's all said and done. And I can uncover that because I know what the initial thing was, because I'm the one that made it to begin with. But sometimes you're going to know which option is correct. Sometimes you won't, right? If you don't, like in this example, the last example we did, you're just going to have to give me 2 options, give me 2 answers. And that's okay. There is obviously a correct answer, but there was no way for us to know that that was the correct answer, even if I could uncover it like this. Because technically, none of my pieces over here gave me enough information to know that for sure, right? The one oddball, right, these all ended with G. This one didn't end with U or C. I know it ends with a G, but that would work either way. And since those are both UC fragments, since that oddball was in my UC fragments, and in either case, I would just cut off a G, right? There's no way for me to know exactly which one's correct. So technically you're supposed to give me two options in this one, even though obviously if I uncover and tell you what the real thing was, maybe it was the first one. But since you're not going to know that, you just have to tell me two. Whereas for example number 4, I actually do know that I should have started with the C, go to the G, A, C, U, G, C, because that's the only one that actually would give me the fragments that are given. So sometimes you're going to have the information to narrow it down. Thankfully, in this case, I did because I had 4 different options instead of just 2. But every example could end up like that. But sometimes there's only one path, so it's pretty clear what your outcome is. All right, so that should be good enough. You can go with the rest of the examples on that other worksheet I gave you guys and just get to work.